that are measured by longevity and 4 Super Bowl rings. Careers that span decades and define perfection. And careers behind the scenes that have pioneered change. Today, the Hall welcomes 4 new members to its elite club. Don Shula.
You know, you talk about smelling the roses. I'm in a position right now where I can smell the roses and feel proud of the career and the accomplishment.
Mike Haynes.
I just worked hard. I wanted to be a good player, so I worked really, really hard, and a lot of good things happened to me, I think, because of that.
Wellington Mara.
His father bought the team when he was 9 years old, and I think he started working for the team when he was in early high school, and he's been involved with the National Football League ever since. And if you look back in the long history of the Giants, it's been a very successful organization.
Mike Webster.
I think the greatest thing I did was the fact that I was there every day, you know, for 17 years. I said year in and year out, my performance level didn't change very much, you know. I think there's greatness in that.
Greatness, synonymous with Canton, synonymous with 4 men whose journey ends at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Good morning, everybody. You're looking live at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. The rain has stopped, and we're about set for the induction of the class of 1997 into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Former players Mike Haynes and Mike Webster. They're going to be going in, as well as legendary coach Don Shula and Wellington Mara, the longtime Giants executive. Full coverage of the inductions coming up on ESPN2. Inductee this morning will be Mike Haynes. He was a 4-year letterman at Arizona State, then the 5th overall pick by the Pats in the 1976 draft. Became known as perhaps the best one-on-one cover man to play the game. He spent 6 seasons in New England. He played with the Raiders beginning in 1983 and ended there in 1989. He was a 9-time Pro Bowler, 46 career interceptions. Mike Haynes, now a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he will be our first inductee. And when we return, we will hopefully have the beginning of the Haynes induction ceremonies. The 1997 Pro Football Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. First up, Mike Haynes, shortly, so stay right where you are. He never played it down in pro football, but Wellington Mara has known no other job but football. He's the son of the founder of the New York Giants, Timothy. He's been with the Giants organization since his graduation from Fordham in 1937. The Giants have amassed 16 divisional titles and 6 NFL titles. That includes 2 Super Bowls in his years with the club. And today, Mara joins his father, Timothy, in the Hall of Fame. That will be the first son of a member to be inducted. His presenter will be a Giants Hall of Famer himself, Frank Gifford. And we'll be checking things out in Canton as they're going to be beginning the induction ceremony shortly. And we'll be back with much more, so stay right where you are.
The Bose Wave radio was created around the idea of simplicity.
RPM tonight at 7, only on ESPN2.
Canton, Ohio, the site of the inductions, class of 1997 into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Still waiting for the first inductee, Michael Haynes, waiting for the ceremonies to begin.
It's now my pleasure to introduce to you for a brief remark.
We'll start the festivities once they begin. So stay right where you are. We'll be back shortly. Actually, there's Commissioner Paul Tagliabue, but we'll stay with him.
This is one of the 2 extraordinary weekends of our football season. We conclude our season with a Super Bowl, which focuses on the present. We open our season with the Hall of Fame inductions, which focuses on the people who have made the great contributions to the game and to the traditions and the legacies that they've left with us. There's a very special feeling here on Hall of Fame weekend because of you, the people of Canton, and the fans. That's what makes this so very special. In addition to the achievements of the honorees, it's a weekend that's driven by the fans and by the people of Canton. For that, we thank you very, very much. Today we honor 4 men who have made exceptional contributions to their teams in the 3 different phases of the game that are critical: playing, coaching, and owning. With Mike Haynes and Mike Webster, we have leaders on offense and defense. With Don Shula, we have the great coach. And with Wellington Mara, we have the extraordinary owner. They would make a dream franchise. Today is the culmination of their dreams. We thank you. We congratulate them. Enjoy the whole weekend very, very much. Thank you again.
NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue welcoming the audience in Canton, Ohio. Michael Haynes, the great cornerback, will be the first inductee. We'll be back with his ceremony when we come back right after this.
You guys want to kick my dog while you're here?
Hello. Hello. Queen of England here, spokesperson for MLS. Couldn't help noticing the 11 on your jersey. Are you a Preki fan by chance?
Preki's a god.
Yeah, Preki's a god.
Oh, to be sure. What culinary delights do we have on the griddle today?
Burgers?
Yeah, you want one?
No, I'm partial to Scottish salmon. A bit like my husband, you know. Rather bony, but definitely worth the work. Carry on. Go Wizards!
Yeah, go Wizards!
Go Wizards!
Back in Canton, Ohio, Howard Fletcher, once the agent of Mike Haynes, is the individual Haynes selected to present him to the Hall of Fame. Here's Howard.
I've only got 2 hours left. This is an amazing year. 1997 may go down as the year, believe it or not, of the agent. First, Hollywood brought you Jerry Maguire. Then TV Land brought you Arliss. And now the Hall of Fame, directed and produced by Mike Haynes, brings you Agent Orange. I doubt if the commissioner will ever get over this. How does one give definition to Michael Haynes' achievements? I'm not going to give you a bunch of stats. You've heard them and you read them. But I do think I owe you what two great football players have said about Mike. Dan Fouts, a Hall of Famer. It's very simple. You're going to introduce the greatest defensive back who has ever played the game. He was effortless. He was graceful. He was deceptively strong. But the thing about Mike Haynes was, if you were going to beat him, you better beat him in the first quarter. Because in the fourth quarter, when everyone got tired, he got stronger and faster. He was a true student of the game. He was tougher than anyone ever thought. And he was a great tackler, besides simply the best man-to-man cover guy I ever had to throw against. Lynn Swann. Who is perhaps one of the finest wide receivers who's ever played this game, said Mike Haynes was a ballerina in cleats. He had great quickness and anticipation, fantastic reaction time, and even better release time. He worked hard on every single play. He simply took you out of your game and you didn't know it was happening to you. That's the Mike Haynes, the football player. But what about Mike Haynes, the man? For me, and I've known Mike for almost 23 years, his defining moment came in the fall of 1993. He put it all on the line. He risked everything to achieve what he wanted. With the help of Gene Upshaw, another Hall of Famer, and the Players Association, we charted a course that changed his career, the careers of many, and the careers perhaps of all of professional football in the future. No, Mike Haynes did not say, "Show me the money." He did not jump around and talk trash and jive. He did not talk on a portable telephone over a ghetto blaster. In a word, he did not perpetuate the only two sad racial stereotypes that are promulgated by some of the black athlete in America, and who's not the athlete for the most part that I have ever known. It is certainly not Mike Haynes. Mike knew what he wanted. He had what Willie Lanier yesterday in a very special session called a passion for individual excellence. And that excellence had to come in two ways. He felt he had to earn the ring of a Super Bowl champion, and he had to earn the ring that he receives today. While it seemed arrogant for Mike to say that, I found it to be a refreshing candor. And we said, how do we go about doing it? Mike desired to be coached by the best defensive coordinator he knew, his former mentor, Charlie Sumner. He wanted to be taught by the best corner he believed he ever saw on a football field, Willie Brown. He wanted an organization that wanted to sacrifice and wanted to win in the worst way, and in a sense, wanted to just win, baby. And he wanted the motivation to play before his parents, Barbara and his dad, Hudson. And he wanted to play in the city that he grew up in and he loved. All avenues pointed in one direction, the Raiders. With the intelligence, the style, the grace, and the courage, the discipline that he showed on the field, we set forth, and history will show what happened. In 1982, he played out his option with the Patriots. He became a free agent in 1983. He sat home for 11 games. 11 games of hell. Days and days when he never wavered because he knew what he was doing was for his future. The Pats finally gave in. They assigned his rights to the Raiders. The NFL voided the transaction. Haynes promptly sued in federal court. And on November 14th, 1983, the NFL shockingly reversed its field and said, okay, Mike, you're a Raider. History will show that a short 3 months from that day, Mike Haynes' first installment came and brought fruit. Super Bowl 18, the Redskins, the mighty Redskins, who had won every single game that season except two, and both of those games they lost by 1 point. The same Redskins who in the 5th week of the season scored 37 points against the Raiders, 417 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. That Redskin team went down to defeat 38-9 with no passes in the air, 193 yards, and Mike Haynes returning 1 big one. Today Mike attains the 2nd installment of that dream. He is now forever part of that legacy, the legacy of this great game. He, in essence, receives that yellow jacket that informs the world that he deserves their respect for being the best that ever played. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. He is not for now. He is forever. And as if this were not enough, there was a third element. I give up. Humility is not my strong suit, but today I'm humble. I present for enshrinement the man, Mr. Michael James Heflin Haynes.
Thank you, Howard. That real special introduction. And I really mean that. Howard Slusher has really become someone very special in my life, and he was really trying to communicate that to you. And it's really the reason I chose him to be my presenter here today. And Howard, I want you to know that I appreciate it and I love you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm sure you have some idea of how I'm feeling right now to be standing on these steps. I'm extremely happy, and I'm extremely proud, and I'm trying not to break down up here. I have a bet with these gentlemen over here. This is probably one of the most emotional experiences that an athlete can ever have. To be here surrounded by luminaries, coaches, owners, former players, people that have made this game really special, people who recognize great coaches like Coach Shula, great owners like Wellington Mara, and great players like Mike and several others that are here. I want to extend my congratulations to my fellow inductees. Gentlemen, I am honored to be up here with you. Now, they have asked us to keep this to 8 minutes for your benefit and for the benefit of TV, I'm sure. And I'm going to try my best to do that, but there are no guarantees. Like everybody here, I also am blessed with a loving family. And you know, you have no idea, Mom, Dad, how much this really means for me, for you to be here. My mother, Barbara, my dad, Hudson, my brother, Reggie, my 3 sisters, Monica, Gail, and Diana, my 3 children, Aaron, Jared, and Vanessa, and their mother, Julie, and my sweetheart, Gigi Madonna. You've all given me strength, courage, and passion, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. Although I live in San Diego now, my hometown is Los Angeles. And I want to thank the few that came all that way. Right. For me, it all started there. From the people in my neighborhood, who I've been spending a lot of time with here the last few days, reminiscing. I went to the public schools in Los Angeles. I grew up like a lot of people do in this country. I do what a lot of parents, like all parents, trying to get their kids to do good things. I was really no different. For me, sports was an opportunity for me to express myself. Los Angeles is an incredibly interesting city. All different kinds of people there, different kinds of cultures there. I really think growing up in Los Angeles has really kind of prepared me for life around the world, really. And I'm so glad that I have that as the place that it all started for me. Los Angeles, I want to say thank you to you as well. I want to give special thanks to my coaches and teachers in high school even. For there was where I learned about self-esteem and where I learned that it was important to be a well-rounded individual. And it was there that people encouraged me to have dreams and to seek those dreams. Thank you, Marshall High School, and all you teachers and coaches. Now from there, I went to Arizona State. And a lot of people might think that's where it really started for me, because really growing up in LA, there's so many good athletes. It's hard or easy to be overshadowed, but college is where I got a chance to excel and be really recognized. I was very fortunate there to run into a guy named Frank Kush, who was my college coach. And Frank was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame 2 years ago. And he's here today, and I would appreciate if you would join me by clapping your hands. Thank you, Coach. When I went to Arizona State, I wanted to be a wide receiver. Like a lot of kids playing football, you want to see your name in lights and people reading about you in the papers. Well, a wide receiver, quarterback, running back, you can get that. That can happen for you. Not a lineman. Mike will tell you about that. Not a defensive back usually. It's usually defensive backs are getting beat in those news highlights, and some wide receivers looking pretty good. But at Arizona State, they had injuries in the secondary. And I was a freshman. It was the first year that freshmen could play varsity. And they moved me up to the varsity squad. I was third string free safety. Before you knew it, I was actually starting. They had some injuries there. I got a couple of interceptions in the games, had some nice run backs with those, showed a little bit of what I could do. The next year they made me a punt returner. And I continued to play defensive back, but not because I wanted to. I still wanted to be a wide receiver. My junior year, a guy named John Jefferson, who starred in the National Football League for San Diego Chargers and Green Bay Packers, he came to Arizona State, and without a doubt, probably the best receiver I ever saw. He could catch the ball like no one else. He really had it over me as a receiver. And it was then that I started this trek to be a defensive back. If I was going to be one, I wanted to be one of the all-time best. And it was with hard work there, with a lot of work from a lot of coaches and a lot of players that were at Arizona State at that time. A lot of them have gone on to be stars in the National Football League. They were All-Americans in college. They were all-conference players. And I don't really have the time to mention them here, except I do want to say thank you to them as well, because it was practicing and playing with those athletes in college that really set the tempo and the standard for me going in the National Football League. Coach Kush taught all of us to be prepared to win, to be the best that we could be, to get the most out of our abilities. In 1976, I was the first-round draft choice of the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots were not a great football team, in 1975. And because of that, I was selected the 5th player in the draft. I went very high. They had defensive needs on the team. I was real fortunate. I had a guy that was also drafted on that team from right here in Canton, Ohio. I went to school right here in Ohio, a guy named Tim Fox. I don't know if you know him, but he's well recognized here in the city of the people here in Canton. But we had 3 first-round draft choices, and with 3 new players on the team and a few good trades, the Patriots turned their season around. We got to the playoffs. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for us. We got beaten the first playoff game, lost to the Raiders in Oakland. In those days, I used to hate the Raiders. I used to hate the Steelers, the Dolphins. But that was then. Now I'm a much wiser person, knowing I'm outnumbered. And I've also learned to appreciate other teams in the league. The Patriots, although they had great coaches with Chuck Fairbanks and Perkins and Parcells and Sumner and Red Miller, they had always had great coaches and great players. But to win, you have to have commitment from the very top. I finally understood that and knew what that was all about in 1983 after I was traded to the Los Angeles Raiders. There I got a chance to understand what winning was all about. There I got a chance to understand what it took to be a great team. It was there where I learned that, yes, you have to have great coaches or committed coaches, and you have to have good players, committed players, but you also have to have players that are leaders and an owner that will let them lead. Al Davis was one such owner, and he had great players that wanted to be great leaders like Gene Upshaw and Art Shell and Jim Otto, Fred Biletnikoff, Willie Brown and Ted Hendricks and George Blana. And all of these people are in the Hall of Fame. I feel really fortunate to have played in Los Angeles and very thankful to have played for Al Davis. Gave me a chance to go back home to play in the Coliseum that I grew up watching NFL greats. I got a chance to play in front of my family and friends. Al, thank you very much. You have a special place in my heart, and you always will. And so will the Los Angeles Raiders, or so will the Raiders. The Raiders. For those of you young people out there who want to play the game of football, I wanted you to know some of the things that it really took from me, and maybe you'll learn from my experience. I loved the game of football. I loved it. I reverenced it. And I really appreciated it. And I knew to be a good player at that game, I had to work hard. I had to understand what 100% was all about. And I had to understand that goal kept moving higher, because the better I got, the higher the standard became. And that's why you hear people talking about give more than 100%, because it is possible, because it keeps moving. So you young people, set your goals high. You know it can happen for you. Get the most out of your abilities. That's what Frank Cush taught us in college. And that's what I think young people who take anything seriously should try to do. Remember, there are no limits. Now I want to thank the National Football League I want to thank the commissioner, his staff, the officials, the Patriots, the Raider organizations, and their staffs. And I want to thank you folks out here, the fans, because if it wasn't for you, there would not be a game. I also want to thank the people who brought life action to our sport. Guys like the television crews, the announcers, the still photographers, those special individuals who really work hard. Guys like Howard Cosell. Remember Howard Cosell? Howard Cosell loved Mike Haynes. Howard Cosell featured me, it seemed like every Monday night. If I jumped on a fumble, if I intercepted a pass, if I made a tackle that made a difference in the game. Howard Cosell, thank you, buddy. And I also want to give a special thanks to Steve Sable and all the talented people at NFL Films. You are the greatest filmmakers in the world. You have documented this great game for all time, for everyone to appreciate and to enjoy. Thank you, Steve. And now I want to give a special thanks to John Bankert and the people here at the Hall of Fame. John, you and your staff, Tammy and all the others, the several thousand volunteers, you have made this special ceremony something very special for me and my family and the friends of mine that have come here. And I want to thank you also from the bottom of my heart. Now, I know I didn't go too much over 8 minutes. And I think I went on my bet. However, and for those of you who don't know, it was about crying because it is an emotional experience. I actually was crying back here before I even got up to the podium. And so Deacon Jones, he wins this bet. But anyway, everybody, I want to thank you for making this the greatest day of my life and sharing this day with me. Thank you all. God bless you.
So Mike Haynes in, Wellington Mara will be next. We'll have that when we come back after this. Back in Canton, Frank Gifford presenting Wellington Mara.
Wellington Mara's election to the Hall of Fame is so long overdue. He and the Mara family have played a decisive and powerful role in helping to guide the National Football League for over 70 years. Well and his family were a dominant presence in this league long before the sellout crowds, huge television and multi-million-dollar player contracts, and Super Bowls. Yes, the Mara's family's fingerprints can be found all over just about every successful move the NFL has made over those 70-plus years. Indeed, it was Wellington Mara's strong support of the Hall of Fame that helped this shrine become a reality here in Canton back in the early 60s. And today, Hall of Fame history will be made as Wellington joins his father, the late Timothy J. Mara, who was inducted in the Hall of Fame's very first class back in 1963. I could spend my allotted time this morning detailing Wellington's enormous personal impact on the NFL. The league's growth, its popularity, its phenomenal financial success have paralleled Wells' lifetime commitment to the game he loves so much. I could speak in detail how his unselfish decision in the early days of meaningful television money guided the NFL toward an unprecedented, united prosperity. That decision to share equally with all teams television's revenue obviously would hurt the Giants. But Wells' vision of a league only as strong as its weakest franchise was right then, and it's right today. There have been so many positive league decisions in which Wells has played a quiet, but major roles, such as the AFL-NFL merger, and he has served on every meaningful league committee. Nor has he ever been one to look for the praise or the credit. His satisfaction has always been that the NFL was just doing the right thing. But that is how Wellington Mara lives his life, doing the right thing. I spoke a moment ago about Wellington's commitment to the NFL. That commitment, as strong as it is, follows first his spiritual commitment, and then his commitment to his family. And that never varies. Well, and his wife, Ann, who is with us today, have 11 sons and daughters and 30 grandchildren. Many of them are here today, and I'm just going to have them all stand up. Come on, all the Maras and the in-laws. And that represents a lot of off-seasons. Wellington also has an extended family. That family is made up of former players and coaches and their wives and their children. I can't tell you, and well would kill me if I did, how many times some member of that extended family has needed help, and well has been there. I know because he's been there for me. I became a member of that extended family when Wellington scouted and drafted me as his #1 pick in 1952. He also signed me to my first contract, and I won't embarrass both of you by telling you for how much. But I will tell you, as I grew to know him and he grew to know me, I never worried about a contract. He was always more than fair, nor did I even bother to sign some of them. Well's word was, and is his bond. I know he won't like this, but I can honestly say Wellington Mara is the most honest and decent man I have ever known. Can that kind of man... One could ask, can that kind of man succeed in the world of pro football? Well, Wellington Mara has been the key ingredient in the Giants' 6 NFL championships, 18 divisional titles, and today Wellington Mara becomes the 24th member of the Giants organization to be enshrined in the Hall of Fame. I mentioned that Wellington Mara was my presenter in 1977. As always, he spoke very elegantly and said many kind things about me as a player. But what I remember most is his reference to me as a member of the Mara family, as the son a father would want to have. I don't know about that well. I'd just like to say to you, you are the father every son would be blessed to have, the brother any man could want, and certainly the best friend anyone could ever have. Congratulations, Well. This is so deserved.
As Frank told you, 20 years ago, I presented him at the Hall of Fame. What he didn't tell you was that I asked if I could, and that's the only time I ever volunteered for anything. But he honored me by asking me to present him, and of course he doubly honors me today by presenting me as he did, and I thank him for that. I thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for looking and seeing behind the headlines and bringing this honor to my family. As Frank said, my family is here in force today, and I would really like them to share individually in this day. I realize, however, that if that were to be done, I'd exceed my allotted time. So let me do it this way. First of all, my wife and sweetheart, Ann Mara. Ann pays me the supreme compliment. She supports me even when she doesn't agree with me, which of course is very rare. We also have, and they've already stood up. We have 11 children, 9 spouses, 1 hopeful fiancé, and 12 grandchildren here. At home, we have 14 grandchildren here, I'm sorry. At home, on our taxi squad, we have 16 more grandchildren. Now, despite Frank's very kind introduction, despite the perception of the selection committee, and despite the inspiring presence of my family, and that is an inspiring presence, I overwhelmingly feel that I come to you here as a surrogate, someone who takes the place of someone else. If it hadn't been for his untimely death some 30-odd years ago, Jack Mara would certainly have taken his place alongside our father long ago to form the first father and son team in the Hall of Fame. For it was Jack, together with Dan Reeves of the Rams and George Hallis of the Bears, who cast what I think is the most important vote that was ever cast in the National Football League. They, representing the 3 cornerstone franchises of our league as it existed then, agreed to share television money equally with all teams. That act of selfless vision made it possible for Pete Rozelle to construct the National Football League as we know it today. And the unattainable goal of every other sports franchise and sports league. Unhappily, their selfless vision is too little shared by many who today benefit from their award. 75 years ago, actually 72 years ago, my father invested $500 to purchase the New York franchise and the National Football League. He laid down the standards and the principles according to which he wanted the new family business to be operated. In his time, Jack Mara practiced and embellished those standards and principles far beyond any abilities of mine. I accept this honor today as acknowledgement of my stewardship over that legacy of decency which they handed to me and which I in turn hope to hand on to the taxi squad and others. I'm very grateful for a long life and a lifelong association with the administrators, the coaches and scouts, and especially the players of our great game. For they are the heart and sinew of our game. If it were not for Frank Gifford, Rosie Brown, Andy Robustelli, Sam Huff, and the many giants who honor me by their presence today, there would not be a Wellington Mara going into a Hall of Fame. They are the people who make it work. They are the people who make it great, and it is great. a beneficent creator has seen fit to give me a long life and a large family. And he has used them to show me with crystal clarity the absolute sanctity and the utter inviolability of life from the womb to the grave. And I am forever thankful to him for that. Once again, I thank the selection committee of the Hall of Fame for giving the Maurer family this great day, and I thank you all for coming. Thank you all very much.
Wellington Mara in. Don Shula coming up next. We'll be back after this.
Don Shula coached teams were audible ready. Usual circumstance. Being as good as everyone else never entered his mind. Being better than everyone else is all he ever thought about. Excellence was expected. Don Shula has a tender side as well. You just have to dig a little to find it. When the prettiest girl in Painesville took off to Hawaii to test his marrying resolve, he wrote and begged her to come back. They married and together raised 5 children. Dave and I and our 3 lovely sisters, Donna, Sharon, and Annie. He became a horseman because his daughters loved to ride and travel to horse shows. Now he loves to spoil his 6 grandchildren. He even spent over $100 in a candy store to make them happy. After Mom's passing in 1991, Dad found love again and married beautiful Mary Ann. They share 2 families now and fuss over both with a passion. Mary Ann is his guide as Dad enters new territory, retirement and the restaurant business. His pursuit of excellence now drives Don Shula's steakhouses. His fundraising efforts to find a cure for cancer have resulted in hundreds of thousands of dollars for grants to fund cancer research. Devotion to his religion, his family, and the NFL have brought Dad here today. He has been described in part because of his jutting jaw as the NFL's national monument. His devotion to his real and his football family inspire tremendous loyalty for all of us. Larry Zonka said it best for all of us. Some days we love to love him, some days we love to hate him, but we always, always loved him. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you the newest member of the NFL Hall of Fame, our dad, Don Shula. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave and Mike. I can't tell you how much of a proud father I am to have those 2 up here to present me. I coached against Dave the last couple of years, and I was very proud to be the first time a father ever coached against a son. He beat me for 50 or 30 minutes the first time and 59 and a half minutes the second time. And I coached against Mike when he was an assistant with the Bears, and they won that football game. But both of them cleaned my clock now on the tennis court and also on the golf course. They know more about me personally, family, profession than anybody that I could think of, and that's why I was so proud to have them present me. I want to acknowledge my daughters, Donna, Sharon, and Annie. And Mike talked about Dorothy and what a tremendous contribution and influence that she had on our lives. But this is the ultimate honor. I look at the people sitting around me, the names of so many of the great players and coaches who are members of the Hall of Fame. I want to congratulate them again, and also the new enshrinees. The two Mikes, and then Wellington. What a time that we've had this week, and I've really enjoyed our time together. You know, it's only 50 miles from Grand River to Canton, but it took me 67 years to travel that distance, and I've got 8 minutes to talk about it. Grand River, a little fishing village up on Lake Erie. Mom and Dad came over. Dad migrated from the old country. Large family. We had twins and triplets in our family. The triplets are here today, and I want to recognize them. My sister Irene and the triplets. The triplets were my first coaching job. When I was in the 8th grade and they were in their 1st grade at St. Mary's School, I was in charge of them. And I had to make sure that they got to school on time and got home on time, and they did the things that they should be doing in school. The parents taught me the early lessons. Believe in God, hard work equals success, straightforward and honest, no free lunches. Haynesville, Ohio was next. St. Mary's School, the nuns. Joe Jenkins, my first coach, is here today, my 5th and 6th grade coach. Where's Joe? Put your hand up, Joe. All right. Then came Harvey High School. Don Martin is here today. He was the coach that took me out of gym class and wanted to know why I wasn't on the football team. And I explained that I was sick when football practice opened and that I didn't have the opportunity to go out. He said, you get out for football. You should be out there. So Don Martin, thank you for your contribution to my career. Then it was on to John Carroll University. A Jesuit education. Father Shell, the great logic teacher. I hope that I've been able to use some of his logic through the years. A great small college coaching staff. Herb Isley was the head coach. They did everything that the Cleveland Browns did. We were right in the Browns' shadow. Our playbook was the same as the Cleveland Browns playbook. So he prepared me for the opportunity that I had when I was later drafted by the Cleveland Browns. John Carroll played Syracuse University in Cleveland Stadium, and we beat them with Paul Brown and his entire staff looking on. Out of that ball game, I was drafted. Weeb Eubank was a scout or an assistant coach and a scout, and he prepared the scouting reports, and he recommended that they draft us. So Carl Tassif and myself were drafted from John Carroll to the Cleveland Browns football team, and that was in 1951. As it turned out, I was the only rookie to make that team, and then Carl Tassif joined them later, and my first rookie contract was for $5,000. I ended up playing 7 years in the National Football League, and then it came decision time. After John Carroll University, I was offered a coaching job at Canton Lincoln High School here in Canton, Ohio, for $3,750. But I decided I would reach for the moon and shoot for that $5,000 and see whether or not I could play in the National Football League. And the fact that we had played Syracuse and beat them in Cleveland Stadium gave me the confidence that we could play on that level, even though we were a small college team. I started my coaching career in the National Football League as an assistant coach with the Detroit Lions in 1960, 61, and 62. And the memorable game in that period of time was when nobody was beating the Green Bay Packers and Vince Lombardi. We beat them on Thanksgiving Day in a great performance. I think we had 12 quarterback sacks in that ball game. And then, again, as a defensive coach, I was given a lot of credit for that success. This led me to have the opportunity to become a head coach in the National Football League. The Colts were looking. Gino Marchetti, the captain of the Baltimore Colts and a Hall of Famer, and I was hoping that he would be here today, but I guess he could not be here. But Gino Marchetti told Carol Rosenblum, the owner, who was going to make a coaching change, that if you're looking for somebody, Shula's the guy. And Rosenblum then gave me an interview, and the question that he asked, he said, "You're going to be the youngest coach in the National Football League. Do you think that you're ready for the job?" And I said, "Carol, the only way that you'll find out is if you hire me and give me the opportunity." He liked that answer. He gave me the job. I had 7 great years coaching the Colts, and a lot of things a lot of memorable things, a lot of great players: Lenny Moore, Jim Parker, Raymond Berry, John Unitas, the quarterback. But the fun time of coaching was the time when Unitas was hurt and Quazzo was hurt, and we were getting ready to get into the playoffs, and the only player that I had to play was a guy that had played quarterback at Ohio State, Tom Matty, but hadn't played quarterback in the pros. So I had to get him ready in a hurry because we had to win in order to make it to the playoffs. So I called Woody Hayes. I said, "Woody, can this guy play in the National Football League?" He said, "Don, you don't have a thing to worry about. This guy is a winner. He's going to do the job for you. You don't have anything to concern yourself with." I said, "Well, are there any negatives about Matty?" He said, "Well, he did have trouble taking the snap from center." So we moved on from there. The Miami Dolphins in 1970. Joe Robbie hired me, the Robbie family. We were 3-10-1. They were 3-10-1 a year before. We turned it around to 10-4, into the playoffs, and then 3 Super Bowls in a row. Lost to the Cowboys. What I learned from that loss, and also another loss that I'm going to talk about later, was that when you're there, it's not good enough to be there. When you're there, you better walk away with that ring, because they're only thinking about one team when that game's over. Before the game, they're talking about 2 football teams. When the game's over, there's only one winner. And I learned that the hard way in my first 2 Super Bowls. I was 0-2 in Super Bowls. But then things fell into place. Back-to-back Super Bowls. The 17-0 perfect season. The next year, 15-2, 32-2 in 2 years. What a football team. I think what coaching is all about is taking players and analyzing their ability, put them in a position where they can excel within the framework of the team winning. And I hope that I've done that in my 33 years as a head coach. The one thing that I know is that you win with good people. The Hall of Famers that I've coached, we got Bob Greasy, Jim Langer, Larry Little, Larry Zonka sitting over there, Paul Warfield. Some other guys offensively that I hope are soon going to be considered for a Hall of Fame. Bob Kuchenberg, Dwight Stevenson. We got Nat Moore sitting out here who's done so many things. And a defense, what a defense, a no-name defense in those years, led by Bill Arnsberger, who's here today. And what a defensive coach. Nick Bonacani, Dick Anderson, Jake Scott, Manny Fernandez, Bill Stanfill. 2 Super Bowls, 32-2 in 2 years. We've got to get a defensive player from those teams into the Hall of Fame. And I hope that someday that we're going to be able to recognize one of those players. And I also want to talk about other players that gave me everything that they had to give on special teams, practice squad, whatever. Their dedication and effort was the main reason that I was able to win so many games. Earl Morrill, I got to say a word about Earl Morrill. When Unitas went down, it was Earl Morrill. I was smart enough to bring him to Miami, and when Bob Greasy went down, it was Earl Morrill. The toughest decision that I ever had to make as a coach was after Bob was hurt, Earl led us to the unbeaten season. We get into the Super Bowl. After Bob's healthy, he comes back and helps us beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. And then I had to make a decision. And I made the decision to start Bob Greasy. I made the decision to start Bob Greasy, and Earl took it like the man that he is. And Earl, thank you for all of your contributions. The present day, for the last 13 years, I've had the opportunity to coach Dan Marino. Dan Marino makes practice exciting. He's broken all of the quarterback records in 13 years. It took Tarkington 18 years to set these records. And I hope and pray that Dan gets the opportunity to wear this ring before he retires. The career highlights, I'm proud of being able to break the record of a man that spent so much of the National Football League, a record that nobody ever thought would be broken, George Halas's record of 324, and then to end up with a total of 347 wins, averaging 10 regular season wins for 33 years, and the best winning percentage, and I'm very proud of this, of any professional team from 1970 to 1996. The team highlights certainly have to be 17-0, the only team in history, and a special bond is developed with that group of players. They wear this ring with pride. And this year is going to be the 25th anniversary of the 17-0 team, the only undefeated season. The low light in my career, the loss to the Jets in Super Bowl III. Weave Eubank is the coach here, and what a coach Weave is. And then they had a quarterback by the name, I keep forgetting, Joe Namath was the quarterback. And what a game that he had against us. And that certainly, but I did learn from that negative experience. I hope the hell I learned something from that negative experience. And I'm also a little bit upset because my career didn't end in a blaze of glory. I would have liked to have rode off into the sunset. But instead, we got beat in the first round of the playoffs in the last game that I coached. And I felt at that time the team underachieved, and I would have loved to have bowed out with a Super Bowl win, but it didn't happen. Some special thoughts. 43 years in the National Football League. The commissioners, Bert Bell was the first commissioner when I broke in. And then Pete Rozelle and the tremendous things that he has done in the National Football League. And now Paul Tagliabue, who is a man that has got a lot of tough problems, but nobody can handle them better than Paul does. The 33 years as a head coach, 7 with the Colts and 26 with the Dolphins. 20 years as a member of the competition committee. Donna, you know I'm going to mention that. And some great people. Tex Schramm, who I have so much respect for. He was originally on the committee, along with the late Paul Brown. Al Davis was on that committee. George Young has been so instrumental in any success that this league has had in a lot of different ways. And Don Weiss, the liaison between the committee and the league, and all of the tremendous times that we had together meeting for those 2 weeks every year, talking about player safety and playing rules. I've only been carried off the field 2 times. One was after the 17-0, and the other one was after 325, and I'll always remember those rides. A lot of special people, family that's here today, and all of the sacrifices and the loyalty and the support, friends that have been loyal in good and bad times, assistant coaches. Chuck Noll was an assistant that went on to win 4 Super Bowls. I mentioned Bill Arnsberger, Howard Schnellenberger, Monty Clark is out here, John Sandusky, Tom Keene, Mo Scarry, Carl Tassif. I'd love to see a Hall of Fame for assistant coaches to get them the recognition that they deserve. The owners that I've had the opportunity, only 3, Rosenblum, who hired me at an early age, the Robbie family, and we accomplished a lot together, and Wayne Huizinga, who's here with us today. And Wayne, I would have loved to have had the opportunity to win that big one with you. I think we'd have had a hell of a time together. The fans that I've been around have been the best. They have been the best. I've enjoyed my relationship with the media over a long period of time. A lot of respect for the great ones that have survived the test of time. They're true professionals in their field. I want to count my blessings. I've been able to do something for a lifetime that I have enjoyed doing. I've had good health, and I've met a lot of great people along the way. What's life been after the National Football League? I've missed the action, there's no question, on Sunday afternoon. Nothing could replace that. But my wife, Marianne, stand up here and look. She's helped keep me busy by making life interesting and enjoyable. Together we have now a combined family of 8 children and 8 grandchildren, and we're having a lot of love and happiness together. You know, it's only 50 miles, but I've relished every moment of the longer route to get here. Thanks for letting me reflect on those great moments. Thank you.
So Don Shula inducted into the Hall of Fame. Up next, Terry Bradshaw presents Mike Webster. Back to Canton we go. Terry Bradshaw, the quarterback, presenting his center, Mike Webster.
Inductees into the Hall of Fame, all these fans, all of you out here, at some point in time in your life, sat down and had a dream. And whether or not it came true mattered not. But the fact that you had a purpose in your life and something to get up and turn you on every day was all you needed. My dream was this. I want to play in the National Football League. So finally, after I had this dream, I said, what's it going to be like, Terry? What's it going to be like? I said, well, first of all, I got to have me a great offense. I got to have somebody that can run down the field and float up in the air, wear number 88, and catch all these passes. And then I got to have a tight end. I got to have a little bitty one from Temple, and then I got to have a big one from Clemson who would say to me, oh, Brad, I'm open. Throw me the ball. I'm open on a 5-yard hook. I don't throw 5-yard hooks. And then I got to have a tackle, 290 pounds. He went from 230 to 290 overnight. Larry Brown, I nicknamed him Bubba. And then give me a guard that can run like the wind and catch a pass if we have to play around at the goal line. Give me somebody smart because we're going to trap. Jerry Mullins came to us. Then give me a left guard. Need someone that can move to the left and move to the right and trap. And he gave me Sam Davis. Then give me a left tackle to protect my blind side. And give me somebody that likes horses because I'm in the horse business. And so all of a sudden my dream gave me John Cowboy Kolb. Then I said I got one guy on the right. I got to have a receiver on the left to complement that little tiny number 88. So he sent me a guy out of Alabama A&M and in John Stallworth who makes great catches. Then I said, if we're going to have all these great people, we got to have somebody to run the football. So give me a fullback out of Penn State, isn't that right? And if he's going to be a great one, he got to have a nickname. We'll call him the Italian Stallion. Franco Harris, inducted into the Hall of Fame, was our fullback. He ran the traps. And then we had to have an unselfish man at the other backfield. Give me somebody out of Notre Dame because I think that's kind of a neat school.
And he sent me a little tiny guy, a little bitty guy, who went over to Vietnam, got shot in the toe, came running back to us. Mr. Rooney fixed his toe up, stuck him in the backfield, and he blocked for the Italian Stallion. And I sat back and I looked at my dream and I said, oh, this is good. Now give me a defense that can stop all this offense. And give them a nickname, because if you win with defense in the NFL, you got to have a nickname. Steel Curtain. And give me a tackle. Give me a tackle that'll spit on a reporter. He got a nickname for that, and they called him Mean Joe Green. And another tackle who carved an arrow on the top of his head, pointing yonder way. When they asked him why, Ernie Holmes said he'd give me direction in my life. Then he gave me a linebacker, 6'5", 218 pounds, knocked down the side of a barn, easy all by himself. Nicknamed him Fang, and Jack Lambert. Sitting over here. Jack Ham, Mike Wagner, Donnie Shell, Mel Blunt, on and on and on. And then the dream was complete. I had a great owner in Art Rooney. I had a great coach in Chuck Noll. What good is a machine if you ain't got a center? And oh, did I get a center. I just didn't get any old center. No sirree, I got the best that's ever played the game, ever put his hands down on a football. And I said to my dream, if you're going to give me this guy, make sure he ain't as pretty as me, and he ain't. I love you. Sit your butt down. I ain't through. I said, make him 6'2", make him 250 pounds, out of Tomahawk, Wisconsin. Drafted in the 5th round, 1974, and he was the only center I ever saw the first time that my arms were actually bigger than his. I loved him from the very first moment I put my hands under his butt. He was the total package. He could get down low and squat under a nose tackle. We didn't have to double team with him because he was strong. He was quick. Quickest hands you've ever seen. Move right, move left. The man was outstanding. Simply, nothing has ever compared to Mike Webster. I turned him on to Jimmy Dean hot pork sausage. I taught him how to scramble eggs with whole butter. Taught him what apple butter was on toast, and he sat by me every Sunday morning as I went through my game plan because he knew I couldn't read real well, and he helped me every Sunday morning. And I showed him what buttermilk tasted like, and he drank a gallon of it every Sunday morning on game day. And he was the only center to take liver tablets that kicked in sometime in the 4th quarter. I said, Dream, give me a winner. Give me somebody I can count on. Give me somebody that I can talk to. Give me somebody that'll help me in a game. Somebody that'll tell me, Terry, no, don't run this play while we're at the line. Don't run this play. Get out. Okay, what you want me to get out of? I don't, just get out. Round another play. Somebody to help me with the slide calls. Mike did. Someone help me with maximum protection. Mike did. Someone help me call the plays. Mike did. Somebody help me get the team in line. Mike did it. Mike controlled it. Mike ran it. We needed him. We used him. We leaned on him. He was our strength in our offense. There has never been, there never has been, or there ever will be another man as committed, totally dedicated to making himself the very best that he could possibly be. There's never been a man who is so loved. Look at this hillside, Mike, when you get up here. Who's so loved, in which the city of Pittsburgh so identified with on offense. He reflected our defense on offense. He was the backbone upon all which we were built around. He was our spine. There never has been, never will be another Mike Webster. Mike Lewis Webster. I love this man. I always have. He is dear and precious to all of us. And ladies and gentlemen, the last time I was here in 1989,
just one more time. Let me put my hands on the Mike Webster's butt. Just one more time. Let me take that snap. Are you ready? Are you ready, Mike? Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest center in the history of the National Football League. Your inductee into the Hall of Fame, number 52, Iron Mike Webster.
I did that for Lambert. Well, as you can tell, when sometimes you think things change, or they stay the same. Giving Bradshaw a forum and a microphone is like giving Visine to a peeping Tom, you know. Yeah, I want to see that ball there. That's my ball. Okay? I don't want you selling it. And I don't want to see 500,000 copies on the market at Dick's Sporting Goods next week. I want to keep that. That has value to me, you know. And I'd like to begin, obviously. I want it to be fun, but I want it to be truthful, and I want you to understand, as you well do, what this is all about. The people out there are tremendous fans. Locally, the Pittsburgh Steelers fans are tremendous fans. But as we go through this, I want you to understand another thing, that when it's all said and done, as these gentlemen over here have provided us with an opportunity, this class, tremendous group of football people, owners, coaches, and players. However, the most important thing is that they're tremendous people. Not perfect people, not people that are pretentious or whatever. They're real people. And that's what the game of football is all about. And I appreciate that very much. But before I even start, and I'd like to introduce a lot of the tremendous, most important people in my life, obviously. Members of my family. I'd like the members of my immediate family, Pamela, and my children to stand up. And remain standing, please. I'd like my mom and dad, my brothers and sisters, and Pam's mom and dad, and all the brothers and sisters, relatives to stand up, please. Remain standing, remain standing. And there's a reason for this. Remain standing, please. I also like any member of the Steelers organization, past, present, or future, stand up. Ed Kiley's over here. I know Ed used to be with us, and members of the, over here in the alumni, Jack. I'd also like members of the Kansas City Chiefs organization to stand up, please. I know Mr. and Mrs. Lamar Hunt are here, Carl Peterson. Tim Connolly, remain standing, please. And I'd like all the Pittsburgh Steelers fans to stand up. I'd like the fans of professional football in general to stand up, all fans, for any reason to stand up. Remain standing for a second. Make it, buddy. I'll catch you later. But the big thing about it is that we're all in this together, right? And yeah, we compete against one another on Sunday, and we hate each other on Sunday. I still hate Lambert. I mean, every day for years. I mean, it took us 2 years to figure it out that we were on the same team. But every single day, you know. But he started it, you know. He was miserable from the beginning. He didn't like himself. But he made me a better football player. And the Pittsburgh Steelers provided me with an opportunity with the environment that they had already instilled from 1969 on. But you got to remember now, it's 40 years. 40 years of not failure, because you don't fail until it's all said and done and then you're on the bottom. That's not failure. You only fail if you don't finish the game. If you finish, you win. Okay? But you don't measure it in the middle of the second quarter, third quarter. You measure it at the end. As long as you keep going, you keep trying, you keep working at it, all right? Sometimes you're going to be down. Sometimes you're going to be struggling. But when I was in Pittsburgh and when I was in Kansas City, I knew I was there with people that worked together. We were on the same team. We could depend on one another. Yeah, in the National Football League, there's only one team that wins the championship, and as it should be, all right? In that arena, that's what it should be. That's what we all understand that up front, okay? But as all of these men here understand, the very best in your profession, or the very best as a measuring stick, what that goal is, does not have to be the point of a pencil. It doesn't have to be a dot where one person can stand. It could be a plateau, and a lot of people can get there. Okay, there's a standard of excellence. There's a standard of success that everybody can attain, but it's measured differently. You have to measure it by where you started out from, what you've overcome, and what you've dealt with. But the big thing is that you keep going forward. And the greatest thing that's happened to me in my experience in professional football is to have the opportunity to work with people with a common goal and with the same purpose and to sacrifice. The Kansas City Chiefs have such a rich and storied tradition, much like the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I had the opportunity to play for two fantastic owners, and even more important, two very, very special people. The Chief, Mr. Rooney, Arthur J. Rooney, the founder and president of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Everybody knows how special and wonderful he is. I don't have to go into that. And Mr. Lamar Hunt, also a founder and owner of the Kansas City Chiefs, is a fabulous person and a wonderful person. His wife, Norma, provided me, and Carl Peterson, provided me with the opportunity, even though he tricked me and fooled me into going to Kansas City. I went there only for the purpose, initially, I know, and I didn't tell you this, why in the world anybody would want a 15-year center. I thought I had to go find out, right? And when I did, they had me. Him and Marty Schottenheimer, enthusiastic, eloquent speakers, personable guys, you know, tell me how great I was at, and I believed it, you know. I never worked so hard in my life. And it was painful, too. But it was a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. And then I still have my championship rings. I still have my Super Bowl rings, so contrary to what you might have heard. But I don't need the rings, and I don't need to wear those rings to know how special that time was for me, because the rings are symbols. The relationship with the players and the things that we did together over a period of time was very, very special. And the whole experience was very, very special. And the other day we had an opportunity to listen to the old-timers over there speak about what it was like in their career and whatnot. And they talked a little bit about what they could do to maybe turn around the attitude and what was happening with the younger players. And the best thing that we could do is to go on ourselves and to be successful, to work together. We have great resources amongst ourselves, and together we have strength. We can do anything we want to do together. We don't need anybody's permission. We don't need anybody's approval. And we don't need to be selfish, which we aren't. But we can attain anything we ever attained on the football field if we do it together. And that's the best thing we could do for the young players, is not to go down and counsel them and tell them of what they should do or how they should change and this and that. The best thing we could do is to go ourselves and to go forward and achieve things and to reach our goals, because those goals would include everything that was good for the entire group. And that's the very, very special thing about being a Pittsburgh Steeler and a Kansas City Chief. From the very top down, it's very, very evident why they have very rich and storied histories. And I've had very, very great pleasure, and I don't say this, it's painful to play football, obviously. It's not fun out there being two-a-day drills and the heat of the summer and banging heads, and it's not a natural thing. Football is kind of rare in that it tests you mentally, physically, and emotionally in so many different ways. And you know what? The worst part about that is it's on film. If you get your tail kicked out there, it's on film. And the next day, you got to watch it with the boss. Guys like Coach Don Shula, the winningest coach in NFL history and the second greatest coach in NFL history, who incidentally gave us the greatest coach in NFL history. But like I said, the top measuring stick, the very top rung of the ladder doesn't have to be a point, it could be a rung, so you guys are equal. But anyway, there's just so many people that have taken part, and that's the most important thing. Hell, I like I said, I was no ballerina out there. I wasn't pretentious, and I worked hard because I was scared. I was scared I would fail. Honest to God, I was scared I'd fail. Scared of the possibility of failure, I should say that. And I'm still scared of that, because that's the motivator that we go through. And the failure I'm talking about is the failure to be the very best that we have been given the talent to be and are accountable for. And now they can be in different areas. Everybody has very significant talents, but a lot of them are in different areas. They're not all the same, but in a lot of ways, ladies and gentlemen, we are the same. We have the same fears, we have the same desires, we have the same temptations. We have a lot of those basic fundamentals. So what we decide to do with those, is up to us. But it's important to be truthful with ourselves so we understand them. And as a football player, you embarrass yourself a lot of times. I mean, over and over and over again. I've embarrassed myself over and over and over again. And I admit it. But you know what? If I concentrated or tried to concentrate and worked every second, 24 hours a day for every moment of my life to not do it, I'd still embarrass myself. And I'd still make mistakes, and I'd still screw up. But that's okay. And it's okay for other people to do that. And if you do that, and I think if you do realize that and you do understand that, then you can make progress. Then you can be willing to go forward and attempt things and learn what life's really all about. You could have the opportunity to experience things that maybe you'd be afraid to try if you didn't, Who Who wants to get to the end of their life, like Longfellow says, and find out that you have not lived at all? We are free to do that. But the freedom to do that, it has to include the opportunity. And many of you people out there, and especially over there, have provided opportunities for people like myself, and it's up to us to continue to provide that opportunity, not only in football, but in every area of life. And you know what? We're in this damn thing together, folks. And I'm talking about the things that are going on today that have been ignored for a long period of time. And we're addressing them now because we have a history of addressing them only when they jump up and bite us in the ass. And not until we do that. But we can change that. We can change. But we're in this thing. We got to care about one another. We got to care about our kids. We got to care about a lot of things. And we do care about a lot of things. But we got to have enough people caring and working together. And we can get that done. It's not impossible. Hell, nothing else is working. You know, maybe it's idealistic, but nothing else is working, folks. And I'm just appreciative that I had the opportunity to play with these men, both in Pittsburgh and Kansas City, and against the jerks on the other team. I have another term, but I try to keep it halfway decent. But one of the real significant things for myself, and in being here today, was getting Bradshaw here. I couldn't find him for a long period of time, and he steadfastly refused to come in and introduce me because he's afraid having the opportunity to follow him instead of being ahead of him. You know, because he was an ugly baby when he was born, you know, and he didn't want, he talks about me being ugly, right? I mean, he was ugly when he was born. I asked his mom that, and she said, that's true. She said, Dad told me, his dad said, he says, he was so ugly his mom carried him around upside down for 2 weeks, thought he only had one eye, you know. Anyway, the biggest thing is I'd just like to thank everyone that I have played with, had the opportunity to play with, and the offensive linemen. I stand up here and accept this award, and heaven forbid they made a bust out of me, but hopefully there's enough shadow and curves and whatnot that they would, that it doesn't scare anybody away. But the big thing is, they put one of us up here for the Hall of Fame, okay? But the jacket that I took off is really, they got hundreds and hundreds and actually thousands of people in it because it represents not only the players and coaches and owners and coaching staffs and assistant coaches and whatnot that were involved in this thing, because football is the consummate team sport. And I needed guys to help me. I had to have a Bradshaw. I need to have a Franco Harris to spread out the defense vertically and horizontally, so especially in space, I wasn't real visible when I missed blocks, you know. And you got recognition at a young enough age that, and by winning championships, somebody had to do it, okay? And I certainly wasn't willing to correct anybody early on in my career when they wanted to give me credit as being a halfway decent player. I was just, as long as I was quiet about it, you know, I mean, maybe people wouldn't find out, but I enjoyed it. And the reason I was good. Don't get me wrong, because it is a talent and it is a gift if you work hard, if you do everything you possibly, if you develop the work habits and you give everything you got, and you study film and you help maybe some of the younger guys in any way, shape, or form that you can. That's a talent. I wasn't fast, I wasn't big, I wasn't strong. But you can make up for things in different areas in other ways, and those are talents and gifts too. So it's important for each and every one of us to recognize that we do have some talents, special talents. Some are very obvious, some may not have developed yet, so don't give up on yourself. Continue to develop, continue to try, do not be afraid to fail. Because you're going to fail, believe me. And there's no one keeping score. All we have to do is finish the game, and we'll all be winners. And if we're going to finish the game and all be winners, why not enjoy it a little bit more by caring about one another and making sure they have an opportunity to understand what that's all about. Now, in closing, I said I made mistakes. I say I screw up, right? I made a huge boner in this thing right here, in this event. There's a gentleman that's not here, a very, very special person, and I wanted to get him here, and he was he's one of the very truly significant persons in my life. There's always so many, I couldn't mention them all anyway. You got Johnny Listini over here has been just a tremendous friend. And if I start talking about him, I'll start bawling like a baby, and I don't want to do that, you know. He knows how I feel about him. But there's a guy I did not get in here for this event. I failed miserably. And there's no way I can apologize him, but, you know, he won't expect an apology. He'll probably just kick my ass the next time he sees me. But he's the assistant head coach and defensive coordinator at the University of Nebraska, Charlie McBride, who coached under Frank Cush. Frank is a great football coach, but when Mike, you said it was fun or enjoyable or a pleasure to play for him. You had that mountain you had at Arizona State? Did you run up that thing? Just once? You must have transferred after that. But anyway, in closing, Charlie, I'm sorry. God bless you. You are fabulous. You've helped so many players in so many ways. And I remember you wanted to send me back to Harshaw, and just because I wanted to play defense one day, but I screwed up bad in not getting him here because I wanted him here. He was special. Mr. Tim Connolly, and everybody has we're very fortunate. We have a lot of friends in life. We have a lot of great and wonderful people, and everybody has those several really, really uniquely special friends, and I've had more than my share of them, and I've had more than my share of blessings. And when it comes to the Hall of Fame, I mean, it's when they say, what is it like? I said, well, I'm way, way past using up my quota. So I'm very, very appreciative, and I'm thankful, and I just want it to be fun. You know, that's what it should be. Obviously, on the football field, when the balloon goes up, fun is winning. And winning in the National Football League and being successful, the object of the National Football League is to be the best, the Super Bowl champion. And let's understand that is the goal in professional football. Because we have to be honest about it, okay? So when we start talking about those things, that is the goal. But that means a player, okay, that he's trying to achieve that goal, there's other things that they can get out of the game that you have to get out of it. But in other areas, at certain ages, while they're growing and developing, to get to that opportunity, you have to give them the chance to develop and grow and to do it without them being afraid to go in there and fail. So encourage one another, especially the children, and not only do we have to do things to provide them, to continue to provide them with the opportunity, we have to give back some things to redevelop opportunities, and we'll all benefit from that. So I thank you very, very much for,
Mike Webster into the Hall of Fame. We'll be back with much more, so stay right where you are.